Kenny Pickett, the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He, of course, has already been active. His practice window was open in training camp. He suffered an injury last week, a bone bruise and a muscle strain. Mike Tomlin has not ruled him out this week. They're going to let practice be the guide, so he is expected to practice on a limited basis today and see how he responds.
All right, that is good. That was good news. I like starting the day that way. Ian Rappaport, I appreciate it. Specifically, Von Miller and the Bills, they head to London at the end of this week, so how his practice goes would be a pretty good sign for the rest of the month for the Bills defense. Rap Sheet, thanks. Talk to you in a little bit. So, as Ian just told us, we're going to have to wait and see about Kenny Pickett, but even with their starting quarterback, the production on offense just hasn't been there for the Steelers, specifically how we saw them fare in August in preseason, the way Kenny Pickett finished last season. You would have thought it would have gone differently for the Steelers to start. They put up 6 points against the Texans. Mike Tomlin was asked yesterday about how he thought the offensive coaches had done through week 4.
Man, not good enough. Not good enough. Whenever we don't play well, forget win or lose, whenever we don't play well, as a coach, man, you start there.
When you talk about a division of labor, especially with players, does any of that extend to coaches, whether that's changing who's calling the plays, anything like that on the offense?
Not at this juncture, no.
Not at this juncture, no. No coaching changes to be expected. The Ravens are coming to town this weekend, Pittsburgh. Can the Steelers offense turn this thing around, especially within this division, Kyle, before it's too late?
I mean, it's still pretty early, and we thought the Steelers got this thing back on the tracks. You know, they had the bad week 1, they win a couple in a row, like, here's our Steelers. And then this bizarre, ugly, deflating loss at Houston. There's a lot of animosity towards the offensive coordinator, which I'm sure we'll get into. But let's just look at the playmakers. And, you know, I know sometimes players themselves roll their eyes at fantasy. These are the fantasy rankings, just a convenient way of looking at their production after 4 weeks. So Najee Harris, he is 37th among running backs. There are 32 teams, okay? He is behind people like Chuba Hubbard, Rashawn Johnson, who is an 0-4 Bears backup running back, and others. George Pickens is 36. He's behind people like Michael Wilson on the Cardinals. Peter, you know Michael Wilson?
A rookie at Stanford. Good little player.
Cortland Sutton, Mike Williams, they're all more than George Pickens. And then Pat Freiermuth, who is now hurt, is behind Cade Otton, a player I'm not familiar with named Kylan Granson. You know Kylan Granson? Who's that?
He rocked the baby. Rocked the baby.
Oh, right. He made the call. Yeah, I should know him. Point is, those guys are out producing the Steelers, and this was supposed to be the electric Steelers. We got talent. We drafted high talent. We drafted a high talent running back. And is it that these guys are just kind of sluggish? Or is it they are not being properly coordinated? Or is the quarterback not as good? I know this. After 4 weeks, we are not seeing the electricity. George Pickens made one massive play this year. That's really been all the lightning bolts that we've gotten. So I don't really care about fantasy in the reality sense, but if you just want to look at pure, what have these guys done to produce results? It's been really low, and they're behind guys that I have not heard of, and that just can't be right, Peter.
Yeah, and there was fire Canada chance in Pittsburgh. That's what they're saying, and Matt Canada is the offensive coordinator. We can talk about it, and when Tomlin says there will not be any changes at this juncture, it means you're still our guy, and we've got our support. Now, it's interesting because I remember Matt Canada when he was at Pitt, and this was like the college Pitt, and this is 2015, 2016. They upset Clemson in a game, and what Matt Canada was known for was crazy motion before the line of scrimmage, like awesome divergence, jet sweeps, all this creativity. So then he becomes the quarterbacks coach at the Steelers, and the second that he becomes quarterbacks coach, they had Randy Fichtner for years as the OC. It was like, fire Randy and put Canada as the OC. We don't Randy anymore. Randy's old school. Put in Canada, he's new wave. Cool. So he gets the job in 2021, and there was excitement for Ben's last season. They went to the playoff. Didn't necessarily light up the yard. Last year, there was excitement after Pickett had a good finish, and then it falls off a cliff. Like, I know Matt Canada doesn't suddenly forget how to call an offense. I know Matt Canada suddenly doesn't know what he remembered when he was at LSU for years and all those years before that. This guy's been coaching for 30 years. It's not like he suddenly is no longer an innovator, doesn't know how to use his things. What alarmed me the most at that press conference, and it wasn't in the clip that we showed,
what do you got?
Is a quote that Tomlin said there were several things that were very disappointing about the game. Chief among them was that Houston was more physical and played harder than us. And that's something that's got to change. That's not Steelers football. So they're getting beat up also. Texans were down 4 offensive linemen, had a rookie at quarterback, and they went up and down on that Pittsburgh defense. Like, there's something else going on, and I think to just fire the offensive coordinator, no, it's the initial knee-jerk thing. That probably will happen if things do not go
Pitchforks are out
better.
big time.
Yeah.
That's the initial fan reaction, but there is something else going on that has to be fixed now. And whether it's Pickett or Trubisky or something, it's not too late. You're still 2-2. And I know Matt Canada just didn't forget how to call a game. And I know Matt Canada didn't just forget how to use his best players. So I'm going to say it's not too late. That division is still wide open. And the Steelers still have 2 wins. They stack 2 wins no matter how ugly as they were.
That is true. And the pitchforks are definitely out. You go on X, and there's people saying Matt Canada has a burner account, and he's tweeting stuff about Kenny Pickett. It's his NFL email. No, it's not. It's not true.
Is that not true?
No, it's not true. It's not his NFL email. That is not true. There's some fan who made that up.
I like that
So it's a great point. It's just, I'm online, I'm like, wow, there's people are saying, Matt, one of the guys in my group chat said, if you're the head coach, what would you do? I was like, this stuff's not real.
The theory is that there's an imposter account that is tweeting negatively about Kenny Pickett.
Yes.
That, like, Canada's great, just Pickett can't play.
And it's over and over. And, of course, the aggregators, who we all know their names, they go with it. And then the players don't know who's the reporter, who's the aggregator, who's what. They're just like, yeah, that's real. But I don't know it's not, but you're telling me.
You're saying it's not.
It's not.
How do you know?
That's not a real. NFL email addresses aren't just at Steelers.com. There's an NFL in there. It's not accurate. It's not accurate.
All right.
But I look at this Steelers offense, and Kenny Pickett has really struggled. You think about it, last year we were raving about him because he finished the season, he had 1 turnover in his last 8 games. So far, through 4 weeks, he has 4 turnovers. So it's a different team, and straight to your point, when you hear a head coach say a team played harder than us, then there is no coaching change. The change has to come within the players, because that is the worst thing you can say about a game. Usually, no matter how a team plays, a head coach stands up there and he says, you know what, we fought hard, but we weren't prepared, or whatever the case may be. But when you're not playing hard, that's a different level. When you say, can the offense pick it up, I'm looking at it right now. Kenny Pickett just got injured, dealing with a knee. Don't know what his status is going to be for this upcoming week. Enter Mitch Trubisky.
Let's talk about
If
Mitch.
this offense is going to turn it around. Can they turn it around if Mitch has to go out there and play a game or two? It was not pretty last year when he was in there. He made a few plays here and there, but Mitch Trubisky eventually was replaced by Kenny Pickett. So now we're watching Kenny Pickett in the year that he's supposed to take off, and he's absolutely struggling. There's literally fans out there saying, we need to give Pickett a break. Put in Mitch Trubisky. He can help us. Can he run this offense better? And just like, why would you think that? We saw what that story looked like.
We got a lot of history with Trubisky.
A lot of
history. We go way
history.
back as spectators.
But it may be him against the Ravens this week. And then can the offense get going with Mitch Trubisky under center? I don't know if I'm ready to get on the board.
Mitch is good. Hey, spots. Mitch has been good. Hey, Thanksgiving days. Mitch always took care of business for the Lions. Always beat the Lions.
The MVP, right?
Always. Nickelodeon MVP of a losing playoff game. Yeah.
Kyle, you saying 32 teams out there. To have a quarterback, your star running back, your star wide receiver, having all those personalities mesh as well, 32 for 32 is a really hard batting average. It's hard to accomplish. I am curious how the meetings and the conversations go down between Kenny Pickett, George Pickens, and Najee Harris. George and Najee, at least, I covered when they were in college. Interesting personalities.
Definitely.
We have heard coaches talk about them. We have seen interviews done by them. We have seen how they carry themselves both on and off the field. And then I don't know Kenny Pickett. I've watched him play. I've seen him talk and interact with his teammates. But to have those 3 come together, and especially when times are tough, when you are ranked last, when you are ranked 29th, that is when the going gets tough. And if anyone is going to have a temper flare, now would be the time for that to happen. So does Matt Canada have it in him to get guys together and to right the ship in terms of, listen, this is rough, we have to fix it? Or I wonder if we're having meetings and guys aren't looking at each other, or they're rolling their eyes when they pass each other in the hallways. The question for me also is, does this defense have it in them to carry this team within this division? Because that is going to have to be the way this goes, I think, for a while until this off. I think the defense is really good, but can it carry itself within the division?
Mike Tomlin gets universal praise because of, obviously, the record. But I think what Mike Tomlin does best is find those guys and get them galvanized and take personalities that might not work and get them on the same page. For Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell for all those years and to have all that success. And now, those are characters.
Yeah.
Pickens, we haven't had any blow-ups yet publicly, but you do have a point in that these are young guys and they're not getting fed and their contracts are going to be up soon too. And it's all that stuff starts piling in.
It's true.
How do you keep it together? This is a true test for Mike Tomlin.
Pretty big game for Pittsburgh.